morning, everyone. My name is Chungo Su. Page 24, we're going to be reciting the invocation of the names of the Bodhisattvas. For this morning's bell chant, feel free to listen or join along. We invoke your name, Avalokiteshvara. We aspire to learn your way of listening in order to help relieve the suffering in the world. You know how to listen in order to understand. We invoke your name in order to practice listening with all our attention and open-heartedness. We will sit and listen without any prejudice. We will sit and listen without judging or reacting. We will sit and listen in order to understand. We will sit and listen so attentively that we will be able to hear what the other person is saying and also what is being left unsaid. We know that just by listening deeply, we already alleviate a great deal of pain and suffering in the other person. We invoke your name, Manjushri. We aspire to learn your way, which is to be still and to look deeply into the heart of things and into the hearts of people. We will look with all our attention and open-heartedness. We will look with unprejudiced eyes. We will look without judging or reacting. We will look deeply so that we will be able to see and understand the roots of suffering and the impermanent and selfless nature of all that is. We will practice your way of using the sword of understanding to cut through the bonds of suffering, thus freeing ourselves and other species. We invoke your name, Samantabhadra. We aspire to practice your vow to act with the eyes and heart of compassion, to bring joy to one person in the morning, and to ease the pain of one person in the afternoon. We know that the happiness of others is our own happiness, and we aspire to practice joy on the path of service. We know that every word, every look, every action, and every smile can bring happiness to others. We know that if we practice wholeheartedly, we ourselves may become an inexhaustible source of peace and joy for our loved ones and for all species. We invoke your name, Kushitigarbha. We aspire to learn your way of being present where there is darkness, suffering, oppression, and despair, so we can bring light, hope, relief, and liberation to those places. We are determined not to forget about or abandon those in desperate situations. We will do our best to establish contact with those who cannot find a way out of their suffering, those whose cries for help, justice, equality, and human rights are not being heard. We know that hell can be found in many places on earth. We will do our best not to contribute to creating more hells on earth, and we will help transform the hells that already exist. We will practice in order to realize the qualities of perseverance and stability, so that, like the earth, we can always be supportive and faithful to those in need. We invoke your name, Sarapari Bhuta. We aspire to learn your way of looking deeply with the eyes of non-discrimination in order to see the true qualities of others. Whenever you meet anyone, you bow respectfully and say in appreciation, I respect you deeply. You are a future Buddha. We vow to look deeply into ourselves, to recognize the positive qualities that are there, to accept and to love ourselves. We vow only to water positive seeds in ourselves and in those around us. By doing so, our thoughts, words, and deeds will give rise to self-confidence and acceptance of ourselves, our children, grandchildren, and all those we know. We vow to look deeply with the eyes of non-discrimination, to see that the joy and success of the other person is also our joy and success. We vow to behave and to speak with humility and respect. We vow to practice loving speech, to help people who underestimate themselves see that they are the wonders of the universe. We know that only when we are able to transcend the barriers of a separate self shall we be able to transform the superiority, inferiority, and equality complexes and realize true happiness and freedom. Thanks, everybody. We will now observe about 20 minutes of noble silence. Thank you.
At this time, I would like to invite up our incense lighters to perform the incense offering. And if you'll turn to page 2 in your chant book, and we will chant the incense lighting gatha together. And together we say, in gratitude, we offer this incense throughout space and time to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May it be fragrant as earth herself, reflecting careful efforts, wholehearted awareness, and the fruit of understanding slowly ripening. May we and all beings be companions of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May we awaken from forgetfulness and realize our true home. Good morning, everyone. It's great to see you all here on this Sunday morning. A few reminders. If you need to use a restroom and this is your first time here at the temple, they're just on the other side of those curtains. You can also go downstairs and find a restroom there. There is water and paper cups located at both entrances. There's also water downstairs. So if you find that you need to find some, that's where you can find them. Lastly, I see there's a couple kids in the house, although I think you guys are pretty familiar with the routine. If you need a place to go, downstairs is where the stuff is at, all the fun stuff. So please don't hesitate to make your way down there if you need to. Lastly, if we can avoid walking in the front for the sake of the camera and just walk around the back, that would be helpful. I think at this point we can stand up and say good morning to each other. Inside of your chant books on page 3, we will be reciting the 3 refuges together. I go for refuge to Buddha, my deeply awakened mind, the living source of understanding and compassion, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to Dharma, the path of mindful living, leading to healing, joy, and enlightenment, the way of peace, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to the Sangha, the loving and supportive community of practice, realizing harmony, awareness, and liberation, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I am aware that the 3 jewels are within my heart. I vow to realize them. I vow to practice mindful breathing and smiling, looking deeply into things. I vow to understand living beings and their suffering. I vow to cultivate loving kindness and compassion, and to practice joy and equanimity. I vow to offer joy to one person in the morning, and to help relieve the grief of one person in the afternoon. I vow to live simply and sanely, content with few possessions, and to keep my body healthy. I vow to let go of all worry and anxiety in order to be light and free. I am aware that I owe so much to my parents, teachers, friends, and all beings. I vow to be worthy of their trust, to practice wholeheartedly, so that understanding and compassion will flower, and I can help living beings to be free from their suffering. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. And on the next page, you will find the Heart Sutra. Compassion from the deep practice of prajna, Paramita. Perceive the emptiness of all five skandhas and deliver all beings from their suffering. O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is emptiness, emptiness form. The same is true of feeling, thought, impulse, and consciousness. O Shariputra, all dharmas are empty. They are not born nor annihilated. They are not defiled nor immaculate. They do not increase nor decrease. So in emptiness, no form, no feeling, no thought, no impulse, no consciousness. No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. No form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or objects of mind. No realm of sight. No realm of consciousness. No ignorance, nor extinction of ignorance. No old age and death, nor extinction of them. No suffering, no cause of suffering, no cease from suffering, no path to lead out of suffering, no knowledge, no attainment, no realization, for there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva holds on to nothing but prajna, paramita. Therefore the mind is clear of any delusive hindrance. Without hindrance there is no fear. Away from all delusive views, one reaches final nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future, through faith in prajna, paramita, attain to the highest perfect enlightenment. Know then the prajna, paramita, is the great Dharani, the radiant fearless mantra, the utmost supreme mantra, which is capable of allaying all pain. This is true beyond all doubt. Proclaim now the highest wisdom, the prajna, paramita. Gate, gate, para, gate, parasangate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, para, gate, parasangate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, para, gate, parasangate, bodhisvaha. The Prajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra.
If you have a prostration practice, you're welcome to join me as I prostrate. If you don't have a prostration practice, that's okay. Prostrations are a way of demonstrating humility for the teachings. It's a way of recognizing that I don't know everything and I'm here to learn today. It's also a way of honoring the teachers that come before us, who are passing down these lineage of teachings. So if you can hang out until we're all prostrated and we've finished.
We're making good time. Got a lot of things I want to talk about. So my name is Igye Su. I'm a Dharma teacher here at the temple. I study in the Tibetan Gelugpa tradition. And I'm going to start by reading 3 of the 14 verses from a poem that was written by Tsongkhapa. And Tsongkhapa was the founder of the Gelugpa lineage. The poem is called The Source of All My Good. The source of all my good is my kind Lama, my Lord. Bless me first to see that taking myself to him in the proper way is the very root of the path, and grant me then to serve and follow them with all my strength and reverence. Bless me, grant me that the spiritual guide who shows me this good road and all my true companions in this quest live long and fruitful lives. Bless and grant me that the rain of obstacles, the things within me or outside of me that could stop me now, stop and end forever. In all my lives, may I never live apart from my perfect lamas. May I bask in the glory of the Dharma. May I fulfill perfectly every good quality of every level and path, and reach then quickly the place where I become myself, the keeper of the diamond. You know, the funny thing is my teacher always reminds us, you know, sometimes these old school poems can sound kind of scripture-y and kind of like churchy. And the idea here is to take these beautiful pieces of wisdom and be able to apply it to our lives in a way that makes sense. And I'm here today to talk to you guys about what the gift of a teacher is and why it's important to find yourself one. So we all have had teachers in our lives. You may think or have the first person that in elementary school, you might be able to remember a teacher that you had that was really impactful for you, right? You can all think of somebody, yeah? Or maybe it was a sports coach, or maybe it was somebody else like your parents or another family member that taught you some incredible life lessons. And I think of somebody, I had a 3rd grade teacher named Miss Beltramo, and she was always inspiring me to tap into that really creative side of who I am. And for that, I appreciated and remembered her very much to this day. And some teachers in our lives remain constant. So in my real life, I am an Irish dance teacher. I know it's a little obscure. I'm certified through On Commission Larinka Gaelga, which is the oldest commission, Irish dancing commission in the world. And one of my teachers I met when I was 9 years old. I'm from California originally. I moved here when I was in my 20s. And he taught me and inspired me to just continue working and being the best that I could be. And he never settled for less. He was always reaching and pulling out the best of every student that he's interacted with. And even to this day, he still comes and does workshops with my dance students and is now a colleague of mine. And I'm really grateful to have a mind like that, a master of dancing, to be able to come in and instruct my students in this way, even though his incredibly intense Boston personality can be a little harsh for the Midwest ears. So you can think about these folks who have had this incredibly profound impact on your life, right? You might be able to think of 1 or 2, or maybe you can think of many. And so a teacher is someone who imparts knowledge, skills, or guidance, somebody who helps us navigate our lives, navigates our intentions, our beliefs. And in Buddhism, a teacher is one of our foundations on the path. Now, most of the time, we think of Buddha as somebody who kind of did it on his own. He woke up. But he did actually have teachers. And one of those teachers was Alara Kalama. And he taught him the sphere of nothingness. And while the Buddha saw those teachings and absorbed them, he was like, this isn't the end of the path. So I got to keep learning. And then he had another teacher called Udaka Ramaputta, and he taught the sphere of neither perception nor non-perception, which might sound familiar from our Heart Sutra. And again, the Buddha was like, great, okay, but what's next? Okay, where do we go from here? There's got to be more than that. And that's when Buddha kind of went out on his own and discovered the middle way, or brought back to life the middle way. And, we often forget. We think like, oh, yeah, no, the Buddha had it together, right? He just kind of woke up one day as a child and was, this incredibly profound human being. But he learned, and it's important that we have teachers. I think of, I use the example of Olympians with my dance students. And I'm like, do you think that they just rolled out of bed one day and decided they were going to be an Olympian? No, they had coaches that guided them, that helped them, that told them when they were wrong and corrected them. Not because they were bad people, but because as a teacher, our duty is to be able to say, I know you're not doing that correct, and I know you can do better. So let me tell you that, right? It's kind of like going to your friends for advice. And then if your friend's just like, oh, I'm so sorry, let me hold you, rather than being like, no, I'm going to step in and tell you how it really is, right? And for me, I like that approach better. I know some would like sometimes we need someone to just give us a hug, but I really want someone to be like, no, you're being an idiot. Wake up. That's really more helpful for my approach. And so as practitioners, we start to see teachers everywhere. We see them in our friends. We see them in our family members. We see them in our children. Anytime we face a mental affliction, that mental affliction becomes a teacher for us. This morning I was heading to temple and I hit every single red light. I'm not kidding. Every single red light. It was like, by the third one, I was like, oh, this is patience. Got it. That's my teacher today. And I was able to release the grip of anxiety of getting here on time and just be. So using that red light as a teaching moment. And there are some teachers whose wisdom shapes us really, really deeply. And those are the ones that help us stay that course towards enlightenment. And in Buddhism, these teachers, or some people call them gurus, some people call them their lamas. Another term that's a Sanskrit term is called a Kalyana Mitra, which means spiritual friend. And those are people that play critical roles in guiding the student, or us, towards wisdom, ethical conduct, and realization. And I've had my own journey with teachers, spiritual teachers, but they all started here at the Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple. So in many Buddhist schools, the tradition is for a student to ask a teacher 3 times before the teacher agrees to be their teacher. And this practice is rooted in a lot of the stories of the Buddha, where students would ask him 3 times for a teaching, and before he would consent and teach them. So it'd be like, hey, can you please teach us this really cool thing that you discovered? And he was like, I don't know if you're ready. But please, we really, really want to hear this thing. I don't know. Please teach us. Please teach us. Okay, fine. Twist my arm. Okay. And it became this kind of tradition. And the strange thing for me was that my first teacher actually asked me to be their student. And it was really unexpected for me, mostly because I wasn't super well acquainted with Buddhist teachings. I was a new mom. I had just finished the precepts program. I kind of just jumped in to the deep end. For me, it was like, go big or go home. And it was also COVID, and our minds were like, I'm hungry and I need to do something because I've been sitting in my house with for me, a very small child. And I need to put my mind somewhere that is going to be beneficial. And I was really hungry to learn. And so I jumped to take the opportunity to be the student. And my first teacher gave me a beautiful introduction to Buddhism. They reminded me that my daughter is my greatest teacher, a lesson that is still very true to this day. And my second teacher, incredibly gentle, compassionate, and very wise. And it was through their guidance that I learned the importance of seeing others' strengths, even when their strengths might not be immediately visible. But unfortunately, due to internal council rules and regulations, and one of my teachers having an ongoing health issue, these relationships eventually ended. And for about a year, I found myself without a teacher. And it was during this time I had been following this modern, warm, Australian-sounding Dharma teacher that told really silly dad jokes, even though they were amusing, that I learned that he was a master of Tibetan Buddhism. And once I had finished the Bodhisattva program here at the temple, I was like, I need a teacher. I'm going to go and take this guy's meditation teacher training and see what it's about. And it was like falling in love harder than I've ever fallen in love before. And over this last year, it's somebody that I would consider my heart teacher, somebody that connected so deeply with me and showed me that there's so many more ways to discover the capacity of my mind and the capacity to realization than I've ever seen before. And Hector has continually and profoundly shaped my path. And I do whatever I can to absorb their teachings, their wisdom, and their experience. Now, in the Tibetan tradition, they say that it can take up to 12 years before committing to a teacher. That's kind of a long time. Some of us are kind of like, the clock's ticking. I better find someone. But there's a reason for this. And it doesn't mean that you should follow the 12 years. It's just, when you're thinking about people in a monastic setting, usually they're starting when they're kids and they're meeting a lot of different teachers. So they have time, right? But it's important to take your time before you commit to a teacher because you need to examine the teacher carefully. You have to observe their conduct, their wisdom, how they guide other students. You must feel a deep connection to their mind, not based on their charisma or how they present themselves, but by their lived experience. Do they walk the talk? Do they reflect an experience that challenges you to grow? A lot of people thought that Bella Caroli was a phenomenal dance teacher. If anybody knows who Bella Caroli is, very, very famous dance teacher, but was very well known for like screaming and yelling and beating their students. So even though they might have been known as a very, popular dance teacher, they didn't always go about it in the most ethical way. So this is why it's important for us to observe our teachers. And lastly, especially in the Buddhist setting, is that you need to make sure that your teacher is teaching authentic Buddhist Dharma. It's not just their personal interpretation. And while we each have our own path, right, we all have our own experiences, without the guidance of somebody who has traveled it before and has received a lineage transmission from somebody else who has come before them, it's really easy to get caught in misunderstanding. And I'm going to use two examples. The first one happened to me personally. And this is an example of when you think that becoming enlightened means that you become one with the universe. And there was a teacher at Three Jewels who's another student of Hector's who I had used this analogy of, it's like rivers on a mountain and we all become one with the ocean. And she was like, that's not true. And I was like, whoa. She corrected me hard and forcefully. And I didn't take it as an offense to my knowledge. I took it as, wow, this person knows more than me, and where did I make a mistake? Where did I have a misunderstanding? And this idea that enlightenment means that all minds merge into one universal consciousness, it isn't a Buddhist teaching. Each being has their own continuity of mind. It's called the Chitti Santana, or mind stream. Otherwise, if we all did kind of blend into one, do you know what logic would tell us? It would say that all the anger that you've experienced in your life, I should be able to. Not at all. No, it's all good. All right, let me get back to my example. Patience. There's another teaching in patience. So it should say, if you have all this anger, I should be able to experience all of the karmic consequences of your anger if minds all became one. Okay. I should be able to experience the karmic results of all of your joy. But that's not true, right? We can't experience, we might be able to share it, but we only experience things from this mind, the one that we experience. Enlightenment doesn't mean merging into a single universal mind, but it means liberating one's own mind from the mental afflictions of ignorance, craving, and aversion. And while the Buddha taught that there is no permanent, independent, separate self, anatman in Sanskrit, it does not mean that all minds merge into one. Instead, it means that what we call a self is just a collection of changing aggregates or skandhas: form, feeling, distinction, other mental functions, and consciousness. Now, if you had a teacher that fails to correct this for you, you'll no longer be on a path that will lead you to the extinction of the mental afflictions, nor will you be able to reach that total understanding of ultimate reality. And it was in the Majjhima Nikaya number 22, the discourse on the simile of the snake, where the Buddha warns against wrong view of believing in a one mind or a universal mind. Some recluses and Brahmins wrongly grasp my teaching, thinking that I teach the annihilation of the self or its merging into some universal reality. That is not my teaching. And so I got corrected on that pretty harshly. And I'm so glad she did, because had she not, I might still be in this misunderstanding. So why are teachers important? For that very reason. The second example I'm going to use is often we see that there are these quotes that are misattributed to the Buddha. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen them, around, but sometimes it might be a quote by Einstein or Thomas Jefferson, and he didn't really say those things. It's funny, my husband and I will go back and forth whenever we hear like a famous quote, and we'll just start listing off people, like, oh yeah, Oprah said that. Oh yeah, Winston Churchill said that, just kind of going off of it. So one of my favorite websites is fakebuddhaquotes.com. Has anybody seen that before? Yeah. So there's Bodhipakspa dismantles these misattributed sayings, and he does all this research and going like, no, the Buddha didn't really say that. That was actually an interpretation that Jack Kornfield wrote in one of his books. And so that's why it's so important to go back to scripture and also to have somebody who is going to guide you down that correct path. And so what do some of the Buddhist masters say about choosing a teacher? Lama Tsongkhapa warns, the foundation of the path is correct reliance on a spiritual teacher. Without careful examination, one may follow the wrong teacher and ruin one's spiritual progress. And that's from the Lamrim Chenmo. Number 2, Nagarjuna uses the gold testing analogy, and this is in the Precious Garland Sutra. Just as the wise test gold by burning, cutting, and rubbing it, so should you accept my words only after examining them and not merely out of respect for me. And lastly, one of the books that our Bodhisattva students are studying right now, The Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, Master Shantideva says that even though a teacher is essential, a student must also be ready to receive the teachings. Even a great teacher cannot help an unprepared mind. You have to do the work. Wisdom doesn't come from passive learning. And lastly, a reminder to be humble, that pride prevents true learning. And so my teacher, Hector Marcel, recently finished his 9th month-long retreat. And he emerged at the end of February. And the first thing that he did was he sent all of his students this beautiful video. And he expressed this deep gratitude for each of us, for being a part of a spiritual community, for this support that we give one another, and for our commitment to our practice. He encouraged us to keep studying, to not give up, because it's really easy to get caught in this dream that we call reality. We're often so convinced of our narrative that things can't change. But as we continue this path, like peeling back the layers on an onion, we discover more and more these layers of misunderstanding thanks to the incredible teachings that have been passed down to us and those in our community that help uphold those teachings. And he reminded us that studying isn't enough. You can read all the books, you can listen to all the podcasts, and you can receive as many blessings from lamas as you want. But until you actively engage with the teachings, until you have real experiences that encourage you to shift your reality for how you see the world, nothing will change. And more than that, you need a guide. You need someone that's going to help correct you. Someone who isn't going to be afraid to stop you and say, like, nah, man, you got it wrong. Someone who isn't afraid to hold your hand when things get hard, and who's going to stay with you and keep showing up. I started writing this talk about 3 weeks ago, and it was right before we were going to, we had our March meeting for the Bodhisattva class. And at that time, the students were working on chapters 3 and 4 of the Bodhisattva Charyavatara. And when this video came through from my teacher, I was looking at notes for the different chapters, and there was this commentary that I studied all of last year called The Entry Point for the Way of the Victorious Children, or Entry Point for the Children of the Victorious Buddhas by Gyaltsab Je. And here's a quote from chapter 3. Beyond this, I rejoice in the actual deeds of beings with this wish, in the activities they undertake to help all living kind. I rejoice with gladness, and I dwell in the faith of admiration, which is mixed in my mind with feelings of great happiness. And so when my teacher sent this video, and I had seen, I had started working on my talk, it was really apparent to me at that time that if we don't spend time analyzing the person who is going to help lead our minds out of this suffering world, we're missing the point. We have to rejoice in what they're giving us. We have to rejoice in the beauty of these teachings and the way that we're able to hear them. If you go to a teacher and you're like, I don't get what you're saying, dude. You either keep showing up and seeing if one day all of a sudden the light bulb goes off, or you keep testing and finding the teacher that is going to connect with your heart, the one who's going to make these teachings impactful for you. And I think it's also a good reminder that at the end of the day, the teachings don't actually come from the teacher. The realizations are within us. And it's just, we use this community that is available to us to help us wake up, to help us remember. And so I dedicate this talk to my teacher. May you stay and continue to serve those who are striving to wake up, those who are helping this world see the blissful potential that it holds. And may each of us bear witness to those who, without recognition or acknowledgement, tirelessly work from the depths of their boundless consciousness to bring all beings closer to enlightenment. And just to go back to Tsongkhapa, bless me, grant me that the spiritual guide who shows me this good road and all my true companions on this quest live long and fruitful lives. Please prepare yourself for meditation. Stretch. Wake your body up. This will be a guided meditation. And there will be an invitation to bring to mind a teacher who has been impactful in your life. And this might be an author. It might be a parent, friend, or other family member. It might even be a pet. But whoever it is that comes to mind for you first, allow that being to come and sit with you in your meditation. Once you've settled into your meditation posture, that's feet grounded on the chair beneath you if you're sitting in a chair, legs grounded on the cushion, spine up tall, tucking in the belly button ever just so slightly, relaxing the shoulders down your back. Hands can be resting on your lap, either palms up or palm down, or they can be held together right on top of the left with the thumbs lightly touching. Jaw should be relaxed, tongue resting at the back of your teeth. And eyes are either closed or gazing gently out in front of you towards the floor just past your nose. And take about 3 or 5 breaths here to just notice any tension that might still be in your body, and see if you can breathe into those places. Continue to let the mind settle, bringing your awareness to your breath, noticing each inhale and exhale. Just like the dirt that's stirred at the bottom of a pond, allowing all of those thoughts and ideas to rest so the mind can become clear and focused. If you need to make any adjustments to your seated posture, now is the time to do so, or clear your throat, or make any other kind of noises that'll allow you to settle in deeper to this meditation. Try to get your body and your mind as still as possible. When we practice stillness, we practice seeing stillness in our world. Now bring to mind someone who has had a positive impact on you, and start to identify and list all of the positive qualities that you admire about this being. Could be their compassion, their patience, their acceptance, whatever speaks to you and makes your heart sing. And allow the image of this person to develop in your mind. And if you have a difficult time with visualizations, you can narrate to yourself what they look like, or you can connect with the feeling that this person gives you. Or being. And this being comes to join you in your meditation. And they're so happy that you invited them. And take this opportunity to share with them the impact that they've had on you, extending this kind of eternal feeling of gratitude. And since this being has been so inspiring for you in the past, consider sharing with them something that you've been struggling with currently, and listen for any advice that they might give you. They might smile at you, acknowledging how proud you make them, how happy they are that you invited them here to this meditation. And as if holding up a mirror, reflect on where these qualities that you admire in this teacher come from within you. Where have these qualities shown up in your lived experience recently? When did you show patience, compassion, acceptance, or even just lending a helpful ear to another being? And just as your teacher has had such a positive impact on you, consider the impact of your actions, your positive actions on others. Thank your teacher, your guide, this being for coming and being with you. And ask them to please stay. and to keep showing you where you can do better. Even in our off-the-cushion practice, where might they show up today? Gently coming back into the room and into your body, saving the last moment to open your eyes as you return to the space. Welcome back, friends. It's a fun meditation to do. And it's not just fun, you learn a lot. Sometimes your teacher says nothing. Sometimes your teacher has like an entire story for you. Consider practicing that meditation at home daily. It's a really good one to help you see where you need to work. And it points out, where could I do better today? Right? So at this time, we're going to open up the floor for joys and concerns. Joys and concerns are an opportunity to share what's going on in your life with your spiritual community. So we can hold space for you, whether it's to rejoice in the good things that are happening in your life with you, or to, again, hold space for anything that's challenging you right now.
Hi everybody, I'm James. Earlier this month, this is a joy. Earlier this month, I was a part of an event where we were able to raise a bit of money for a Palestinian family, and it means a lot to me to be a part of a community that has that intention.
Good morning, Sangha. I'm Ananda Pulabhava. Share two joys. Yesterday at Guide Light, we celebrated a historical event where the women's program, it was started last year. So it was the first woman graduate that graduated the program and then moved on to sober living. And so it was quite an honor for her, and it was really awesome to be a part of that. Guide Light's existed for, I think, 96 years. And now they finally have a full women's program going. So that was super awesome. And then on the way up here, I saw one of the Guide Light guys, and they just smiled at me. They're in recovery, right, in the program. And just the smile on his face when he saw me just lit my life up. And I had to go in and give him a hug and be like, you just made my day. That's all
I'm Christian. I've been feeling extremely vulnerable, but strong, and it's kind of uncomfortable, but I feel determined to get through with all of the awareness that is going to come through hard effort. And yeah, it's a good thing.
Good morning. About a year ago, I began training at work, and I've always kind of seen myself as kind of an education type. And I really leapt at the opportunity to have a captive audience that I could talk about books with. But as it turns out, training was a lot more complicated than just talking about what I had from the library for that day. But through the course of training at my job, I have met a lot of people who otherwise wouldn't see themselves in our workforce, people who are often young and queer and educated, maybe of color, and helping them find the resilience to be in a mostly white conservative workforce. And yesterday we had a movie night, and it was really great. So I found a lot of friends through that practice.
Thank you. Good morning. I have, I guess, kind of a joy and kind of a concern. It's still kind of both. The concern part is that I've been helping my boyfriend through a depressive episode in his life. It got to the point where he showed up to my dorm just in a panic attack because of he thought that a therapy appointment was going to be earlier, and it was actually a week past what he thought it was going to be, and he had a panic attack. And but the joy is that we've gotten through that part. We've gotten using some of the things I've learned here to help him to get him through that. And we're still not out of the woods yet, but it's gotten a lot better, and he's gotten a lot better. So that's the joy of it.
I will tag on a rejoicing. Is this anybody's first time coming to the temple today? Wow. I'm going to rejoice in you being here, because people don't just show up for this. I mean, sometimes they do just to hear it, but usually you walk through those doors. There's a cause and condition that came for you to do that. So I'm rejoicing in your being here today. And I'd also like to rejoice in all the volunteers that are helping with service today. Without you guys, both tech and Dharma disciple volunteers, service wouldn't run as smoothly. So thank you.
I guess finally, one of our Sangha members, Morgan, will be having surgery on Monday at Blodgett. If we could just hold him in our hearts. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Chungo Su. I have a couple joys. On the topic of teachers, I feel real grateful to be in a place right now where I have a number of teachers and mentors in my life, older and younger, that I can lean on and talk with. I've never really had that, and it's been real helpful for me to just be vulnerable and kind of share, what I'm struggling with, and get sound advice. Sometimes hard to hear, sometimes not, but it's been really great. I also wanted to share my son and we finished the Harry Potter series last night. It's been a long time coming, and I had never read the books or seen the movies, so it's all really fresh for me. So thank you. Just wanted to share the joy of that.
All right. So with that, we're going to hold space for all those joys and concerns. We bow. So before we move on to our closing gathas, a few announcements for March. We have our online weekly meditation group on Wednesdays from 6 to 6:45 p.m., and that's on Zoom. If you're interested, please contact Kunga. All of this information can be found in our newsletter, which you can sign up for on our website if you haven't yet. So if you're ever curious, like what's happening in Temple, that's a great resource. We have a Dharma discussion group on Thursdays here at the Temple from 9:30 to 11 a.m. That can be you can contact Reverend Jing Su or Ryan Duffield. The Grand Rapids Buddhist Board Temple meeting, I'm not sure when it is in April, but it will be coming up in April. We had our, which day? 27. Aha. Yes. So the 27th, the Board Temple meeting. You are welcome to come. Sangha members are encouraged to come and like find out what our board does to take care of the temple. Please come. We'd love to have you there. So I think that's still happening as normal, right? Yeah, that's still happening as normal. Lastly, we have our Buddhist recovery meetings on Mondays, 6:30 p.m. meditation, 7 p.m. meeting, and it's here at the temple. Wednesdays, 6:30 p.m. at the Alano Club. Fridays, 10:05 a.m. meditation, 10:30 a.m. meeting at the temple, or you can join via Zoom. Again, all of these details are on our website. We do also we've started signing up for our spring retreat that will take place in April. It goes from about 7 a.m.-ish to about 4, right? I think that's what our temple, 9 a.m.? Oh, 9 to 4. 9 a.m. to 4. I guess that's more reasonable. I'm over here like, yeah, let's do 7. So yeah, we do have that coming up. It's a great time to spend in temple doing some work practice. There's varied types of meditation, so it's not just all sitting. We do some walking meditation. There's a group potluck. So we encourage all attendees to bring something to share, to eat. It's a good time, but it is silent. So we don't really get to talk to each other until the end, which is kind of fun. Any other announcements?
So one of the 6 paramitas is dana, which is generosity. And so everything that happens here at the temple is voluntary. So no one gets paid for any of their time or any of their effort. So there are several ways to support the temple with your generosity. That can be through time, through volunteering, to help with certain things. There's also financial donations. There's dana boxes. I have my phone just so I remember things. There's dana boxes. You can use check or cash, and there's a QR code for PayPal on there as well. And if you are on YouTube, there's zengr.org/donate. There's a link at the bottom there for PayPal. You can also bring supplies. There's usually need for toilet paper, paper towel, those kind of things. So if you have any questions about that, you can ask someone. Thank
All right. Lastly, once service is, once we're all completed with service, you're welcome to join us downstairs for tea. I'm available if you want to talk about anything, or if you just like geeked about something you read, or just something general with Buddhism, because I love talking all things about this philosophy. It's like my weird obsession. And if you have a weird obsession like that too, like let's talk. Other reminder is your cushions. If you can, make sure that the cushion that you've sat on is in the center and that things are mostly aligned. We do share this space with other people during the week, so we like to leave it as pristine as possible as a good example of our practice. And I think that's it. So at this time, we're going to stand up and chant our closing gathas, which I believe you can find on page 6. And together we say, for all unskillful action ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thoughts, now I atone for them all. Vast is the robe of compassion, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Buddhist teachings for the benefit of all sentient beings. All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Endless blind passion, I vow to uproot. Dharma gates without number, I vow to enter. The great way of Buddha, I vow to attain. And if this side, we'll turn and face this side. Be back. Thank you, everyone. Have an awesome Sunday. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.